Scientists say the Earth is changing, and not for the better. Glaciers are melting too fast, sea levels are rising, and severe weather is more frequent, with floods or drought affecting crops and livestock. The scientists say the outlook could be bleak for future generations unless the rate of global warming slows down significantly. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon saw the problem up close on his recent visit to the Arctic.
Standing on the Arctic ice, I felt the immense power of nature, but at the same time, I felt the great sense of urgency as well as sense of vulnerability for our world. Because I have seen these glaciers were melting and glaciers were thinning, and if we would not take any urgent action to stop this further glacier melting, scientists warned us that by 2030 we may have a virtually ice-free Arctic.
The main culprit in global warming is the rising level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It is released through processes such as the burning of oil and coal and the chopping down of forests. Industry, modern agriculture, and deforestation in all countries contribute to global warming, but many experts say China, the United States, Brazil, and Indonesia are responsible for the most carbon emissions. The international community wants a new global climate treaty to reduce carbon emissions, and the hope is that negotiations could produce agreement at a meeting in Denmark's capital in December. The Secretary General is trying to give those negotiations a political boost by convening a climate change summit with 100 world leaders expected to attend as delegates gather for the UN General Assembly's annual debate. Andrew Deutz of the Nature Conservancy says the leaders must commit to serious greenhouse gas emission reductions. The target is at least 25 to 40% by the time they get to Copenhagen.
What we want out of a deal in Copenhagen, as I said, we want emissions reduction commitments among the wealthy countries of the world. We want the developing countries to agree to start reducing the growth of their emissions. They can't continue to grow their emissions at the rate that they have, but we still want their economies to grow as fast as they can.
The UN is seeking reduced emissions in ways to give developing countries financial and technological help so they can adapt to the impact of climate change. But that won't be cheap. The United Nations and others estimate it could cost $400 billion to $600 billion a year.
That sounds like a really big number until you look at what the stimulus package cost in the United States, until you look at what we spent to bail out AIG. And the stimulus package, or the first bailout, was $700 billion. So dealing with climate change in all the 130 developing countries around the world every year costs less than what we spent to bail out Wall Street.
While negotiators work to hash out a deal by December, the Secretary General says we can all do our part to help the Earth. He told VOA that small lifestyle changes can make a difference, and he is practicing what he preaches.
Wherever I traveled, wherever I stayed, I have been always turning off lights. And I have been using very sparingly this water. And I have been minimizing my carbon footprint. And I'm really trying to lead by example myself.
The Secretary General says it is urgent that the international community come together to seal the deal in Copenhagen because the planet cannot wait. Margaret Besheer, VOA News, the United Nations.